Here's the cold truth. 99% of men send the exact same good night text. Good night or sweet dreams. Do you know what that does? Nothing. It places you in the pile with every other guy she barely remembers. That text doesn't spark desire. It doesn't leave her restless under the covers, staring at the ceiling, replaying you in her mind. It makes you safe, predictable, disposable. But there's another level. The man who knows how to plant the right seed before she closes her eyes. The man who knows that a good night text isn't about courtesy, it's about control. About entering her subconscious when she's most vulnerable. When you send the right kind of message, you don't just say good night. You keep her awake, restless, and addicted. She won't admit this to you. But the truth is, women live for the man who can haunt their thoughts when the world goes quiet. And that man can be you, if you understand what I'm about to show you. Most men treat texting like it's casual. But here's the reality. The last words a woman reads before she drifts into sleep can burn into her memory stronger than a kiss. Why? Because the mind latches on to the final thought of the day. Psychologists call it the recency effect. Whatever thought she takes into sleep lingers, replaying in her dreams, shaping her emotions the next morning. And here's the kicker. Women don't crave a flood of emojis or paragraphs of praise. They crave presence. They crave the subtle power of a man who knows how to leave her with a feeling she can't shake. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you give her a good night text that stirs her imagination, you dye her entire night with your presence. That's not a line. That's a strategy. So in this journey, I'm going to show you 7 kinds of good night texts that will set you apart from 99% of men. Not cheesy pickup lines, not manipulative games, but words that reach into her psychology and trigger the emotions that make her crave you long after midnight. Each one comes from a place of masculine stillness, psychological truth, and, yes, Stoic wisdom. Text 1. The protective frame. The first text every woman secretly wants but will never ask for is the protective frame. See, most men make the mistake of trying to be funny, witty, or overly flirty. But what women want at night more than anything is to feel safe. To feel that even in the darkness, someone strong is in their corner. Safety is the first layer of attraction. Without it, everything else collapses. Psychologically, women are wired for security. Evolution shaped this. For thousands of years, a woman's survival depended on the man who could keep the wolves away from the cave, not the man who could tell the best jokes. Even today, when the dangers are different, her nervous system still craves that feeling. I can relax because he's got me. And when you send a message that provides this feeling, she doesn't just smile. Her body responds. Her breathing slows. Her guard drops. She associates you with safety, and that association builds obsession. Let me give you a story. Tom, 48, was dating a woman in her 30s who had just gotten out of a toxic relationship. She was used to chaos, games, and late-night drama. On their third date, after walking her to her door, Tom sent her one text. "Sleep well tonight. You're safe with me in your corner." That was it. No emojis, no follow-ups. The next morning, she admitted she couldn't stop thinking about him. Not because the words were poetic, but because they carried weight. He didn't just wish her good night. He gave her something no man had given her before: peace. The Stoics knew the power of safety. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you show her that you are in control of yourself, you radiate control over the world around you. That's what makes her feel secure. And security is not boring. It's addictive. Because in a world full of men chasing validation, the rare man who offers stillness becomes unforgettable. Here's your shift. Stop sending goodnight texts that make you look like every other man. Instead, send one that creates the protective frame. Keep it short. Keep it calm. Say something like, "Rest easy, I've got you," or "Good night, you're safe with me." And then, and this is crucial, leave it there. Don't chase. Don't double text. Let her sit with it. Let her replay it, because in that silence, your words will echo louder. And she'll fall asleep thinking not of a boy desperate for her attention, but of a man who gives her the rarest gift of all: peace. Text 2. The curious tease. Most men are terrified of leaving a woman hanging. They think if they don't give her everything now, she'll lose interest. But here's the paradox. It's not the answers that keep her awake, it's the questions. It's the tension of unfinished business that gnaws at her mind when the lights go out. Curiosity is the spark that ignites obsession. Psychologically, this works because of what's called the Zeigarnik effect. The human brain fixates on incomplete tasks. When something isn't finished, the mind replays it over and over until it's resolved. If you give her every detail, every compliment, every story, there's nothing left to replay. But if you leave a door half open, her imagination kicks in. And imagination is far more powerful than anything you could spell out. Let me give you an example. Ryan, 35, went on a date with a woman who was used to men pouring everything out in the first conversation. Instead of texting her a bland "good night, had fun today," he wrote, "Good night. I'll tell you tomorrow the one thing I noticed about you that surprised me." That's it. No explanation, no reveal. She later admitted she tossed and turned all night wondering what he saw. And when they met again, she brought it up before he did. That text didn't just make her think of him. It made her crave closure. The Stoics understood the power of restraint. Zeno of Citium said, "Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue." Too many men trip with their tongue, giving away everything too fast. But the man who holds back, who reveals himself like chapters in a book instead of dumping the whole story at once, that man becomes unforgettable. Here's your shift. Don't text her like a desperate salesman who has to close the deal tonight. Text her like a storyteller who knows the cliffhanger is more powerful than the ending. Say something like, "Good night. Remind me tomorrow to tell you what made me laugh today." Or, "Sleep well. I noticed something about you I'm not going to reveal yet." And then stop. Let her imagination do the heavy lifting, because once she starts filling in the blanks with her own desire, she's already invested. Text 3. The challenge. Here's another hard truth. Women don't go crazy for men who worship them like goddesses. They go crazy for men who challenge them. Not with cruelty, but with play. A playful challenge stirs respect. It signals that you don't pedestalize her and that she'll have to rise to meet your level. That shift changes everything. Psychologically, this works because of the principle of commitment and consistency. When someone accepts a challenge, even a small one, they subconsciously invest in proving themselves. And the more they invest, the more emotionally tied they become. Women are surrounded by men who flatter and bow. The man who playfully says, "Let's see if you can keep up," stands out like fire in the dark. Take Daniel, 42. Instead of ending the night with "sweet dreams," he texted, "Good night. Let's see if you can beat me at waking up early tomorrow." The woman laughed, rolled her eyes, but the next morning she messaged first, bragging that she was already up. What happened? He shifted her frame. He wasn't chasing her. He invited her into his game, and she gladly joined. That's attraction at its core, not begging for validation, but creating a dynamic where she wants to prove herself to you. Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." A light challenge creates difficulty, not the kind that frustrates, but the kind that excites. It forces her to rise. And rising in your presence makes her associate you with growth, energy, and momentum. Here's your shift. Stop being the man who flatters her into boredom. Start being the man who challenges her into obsession. Say something like, "Good night. Bet you can't get up earlier than me tomorrow." Or, "Sleep well, but I'm warning you, I'm gonna beat you at chess next time." Keep it light, playful, but firm. Because when she feels she has to prove herself to you, she stops comparing you to other men. She starts measuring herself against your standard. And that's when she begins to chase. Text 4. The deep mirror. Here's the truth. Women don't lose sleep over the man who tells them they're beautiful. They've heard that 1,000 times. What makes her think of you all night is when you reflect back a part of her she thought nobody noticed. When you become her mirror, not for her looks, but for her essence. Psychologically, this works because of the disclosure effect. When someone feels seen on a deeper level, they feel emotionally exposed and emotionally tied. Most men send surface-level compliments. "You looked great tonight" is nice, but it's forgettable. The man who texts, "Good night. I keep thinking about how your eyes lit up when you talked about your art," hits a different nerve. That's not just flattery. That's recognition. Recognition is intoxicating. Think of Robert, 46. He went out with a woman who had always been admired for her looks, but rarely for her passion. At the end of their night, he texted, "Good night. I can't stop picturing how alive you looked when you described your travels." She later confessed that she lay awake replaying that line. Not because it was smooth, but because it was rare. He wasn't praising her surface. He was honoring her soul. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you remind a woman of her brightest moments, when she felt lit up, passionate, alive, you dye her thoughts with that color. And because you're the one who reflected it back to her, she begins to associate that feeling with you. That's not a text. That's an imprint. Here's your shift. Stop giving empty compliments. Stop telling her what every other man can see. Start reflecting back what only a man who's truly paying attention would notice. Keep it specific. Keep it tied to her energy, not her outfit. Say something like, "Good night. I keep replaying how your voice changed when you talked about your dream. That's how you become unforgettable." Because the man who makes her feel seen at midnight becomes the man she dreams of by morning. Text 5. The subtle desire. Most men ruin attraction because they confuse desire with desperation. They either smother a woman with lust, making her feel objectified, or they hide their desire completely, terrified of being rejected. Both extremes kill the spark. The truth is, women don't want you to worship them, and they don't want you to be indifferent. They crave desire expressed with restraint. That balance makes them restless. Psychologically, this works because of tension. The female mind is wired to respond to subtle signals of interest, signals that are clear enough to be felt, but controlled enough to leave room for imagination. When you hint at desire instead of dumping it all at once, you ignite curiosity. She starts asking herself, "How much does he want me? How far would he go?" That uncertainty keeps her spinning. Take Mark, 38. Instead of sending a thirsty text like, "I can't stop thinking about your body," he wrote, "Good night, and maybe dream of me." That was it. Simple, suggestive, playful. She admitted later that it made her cheeks flush as she read it in bed, not because it was explicit, but because it was subtle enough to spark her imagination. That imagination did the rest. Epictetus once said, "If you wish to be loved, love. Desire is part of love, but love without restraint becomes chaos." When you show your desire with discipline, you demonstrate mastery of yourself. And self-mastery is the essence of masculine attraction. Here's your shift. Don't flood her with lust. Don't bury your attraction either. Learn to reveal it in small doses that make her wonder what else you're holding back. Say something like, "Sleep well," maybe "Dream about me," or "Good night. I'll try not to steal the spotlight in your dreams." That balance between humor, restraint, and desire makes her restless. Because deep down, she doesn't want a boy who worships her. She wants a man who wants her but doesn't need her, and that's what makes her crazy. Text 6. The playful mystery. Here's a truth most men overlook. Women don't just want safety and depth. They also want play. Play keeps attraction alive. Play gives her something to smile about when the world feels heavy. But the kind of play that drives her crazy isn't goofy or needy. It's the mixture of humor and mystery. Psychologically, humor lowers defenses, and mystery sparks curiosity. When you combine the two, you create an emotional cocktail that lingers long after the text is read. The best part? You don't have to be a comedian. You just need to know how to leave a line unfinished. How to plant a thought that makes her laugh and wonder what you meant. Take Andrew, 33. Instead of a flat good night, he wrote, "Good night, don't dream about what I said earlier." Or do. She laughed when she read it, but she also couldn't stop replaying the earlier conversation in her head. What did he mean? Why did he phrase it that way? That duality, humor wrapped in mystery, kept him in her thoughts until morning. Seneca once said, "A jest often decides matters of importance more effectively than severity." A light-hearted line, delivered with restraint, can make more impact than 1,000 heavy-handed compliments. When you show her you can make her smile and think at the same time, you become rare. Here's your shift. Don't be the man who tries too hard to be funny, and don't be the man who's always serious. Be the man who mixes play with mystery. Text her something like, "Good night. Try not to laugh about what I told you earlier," or "Sleep well, though I can't guarantee I won't show up in your dreams to bother you." Keep it light, keep it playful, but let the mystery linger. Because a woman who goes to bed smiling and wondering is a woman who wakes up craving more. Text 7. The future frame. The final text isn't about safety, or mystery, or desire. It's about direction. Women don't just want to feel desired in the moment. They want to feel like they're part of something bigger. The man who makes her think of the future is the man she can't let go of. Psychologically, this is about anchoring. When you tie her emotions tonight to something that's coming, you create anticipation. Anticipation is the strongest fuel of desire. She doesn't just think about you now. She projects you into her tomorrow. And that projection makes you stick. Picture Michael, 40. After a night out, instead of ending with "good night," he texted, "Rest up. I've got plans for us this weekend." That one line made her pulse quicken. Not because of the plan itself, but because he positioned her inside his vision. She wasn't just a date. She was part of his world. That's the difference. Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." A man without ambition texts for attention. A man with ambition uses his words to show direction. Women feel this instantly. One makes them yawn. The other makes them restless. Here's your shift. Don't just close the night. Open the future. Send something like, "Good night. Rest up. We've got an adventure coming." Or, "Sleep well. Tomorrow I'll tell you my idea for us." Keep it grounded. Keep it intentional. Because when she imagines herself in your future, she stops wondering if you're just another guy. She starts hoping she's the woman who gets to stay. So let's bring it all together. Most men treat texting like a chore, like a box to check. That's why their messages die in her inbox, forgotten by morning. But the man who understands presence, psychology, and restraint knows that every good night text is an opportunity to leave an imprint. Brother, women don't lose sleep over emojis and cliches. They lose sleep over the man who makes them feel safe, curious, challenged, seen, desired, playful, and part of something bigger. That's what these 7 texts do. They're not tricks. They're reflections of your frame, your calmness, your confidence, your vision. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you send her the right kind of message, you dye her thoughts with your presence. And if you do it right, you don't just say goodnight. You become the dream she can't wake up from. If you're ready to stop being the man she forgets and start being the man she can't stop thinking about, here's what I want you to do. Drop the phrase, "presence in every word" in the comments so I know you're part of this brotherhood. Subscribe, because this isn't just about texting. It's about becoming the kind of man who leaves a mark without trying too hard. And in the next video, I'll show you the power of silence, how saying nothing at all can make her chase you harder than 100 words ever could. Until then, remember, every word you send is a reflection of your presence. Make them count.